What's good, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Over Quota. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review if you haven't already. And like always, the J. David Group, which is my company, is sponsoring this podcast. My company helps high-growth software companies recruit top software sales leaders and salespeople. So go to the jdavidgroup.com/hiring to learn more, or go to the jdavidgroup.com/looking if you're looking for your next big challenge. My guest today is Cliff Ryan, who's the Vice President of Business Development at a company by the name of Yaymaker, which started off hosting one-of-a-kind locally crafted events such as paint night at local bars that brought people together. Now, in a world where we can't even come within 6 feet of each other, let alone indoors, Yaymaker has pivoted into offering virtual events, but not just for individuals, but for corporations, which is part of the reason I wanted to have Cliff on so we can talk about that pivot because it's quite interesting. Cliff, welcome to Over Quota.
Well, Jay, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here and have a good chat with you.
Absolutely. So let's just start. Matter of fact, before we get into Yaymaker, tell us a little bit about your trajectory, how you got to Yaymaker. I know you were at Groupon for several years and then you went to Cvent. Just talk to us a little bit about your own personal experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess start at the beginning. I when I was young, I wanted I wanted money for just whatever as a kid, and my parents told me, "Hey, go get a job." So I got a job when I was before I was 12 years old. I think it was right before my 12th birthday, and it was in sales, and I enjoyed it. By the time I was in high school, I was hiring people and kind of building my own little business. And started a business right after, not long after I graduated from college. And so I kind of always had that entrepreneurial spirit in me, always enjoyed sales and then sales leadership. And then, the industry I was in kind of came to a screeching halt in 2006 or 2007. So for the first time in my career, in my life, I went to work for someone other than myself, which was a change. And, so I went to work in the energy industry for a couple of years and didn't really like it, and really looked around and tried to decide, what's an industry or a company that I could feel like that, I could tap into that entrepreneurial spirit. It was in growth mode. It was exciting. And that's how I ended up at Groupon. Groupon was right around their time that they launched their IPO. I was able to join their team, and then I ended up working there very successfully for 5 years in a couple different positions. Ended up leaving and going to a company called Cvent. They focus on software sales for mostly mid-market, but also mid-market and enterprise, providing software for all different industries, but really is around meetings and events, all different softwares from the beginning to the end. And then I recently took a position with Yaymaker, like you mentioned.
And tell us a little bit more about Yaymaker. Obviously, I alluded to the fact that with COVID, the business certainly had to shift from offline to online. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, that was a pretty painful transition. I think a lot of companies have gone through some painful transitions and the disruption of COVID. And for Yaymaker, they were a company that had grown really quickly, seemed like they had a great trajectory. And then COVID hit. And so, like you mentioned, all in-person events stopped. It's a transactional business. So these weren't, multi-year contracts where we had, the company had revenue locked in. Literally, the company went from about $35-40 million a year in annual revenue to almost zero. And there's good and bad. There's always a silver lining. So for when one door closes, another door opens, and it really was like that for Yaymakers. So it was, they had thousands of really amazing hosts that they worked with to provide their events all around the country. And when in-person events stopped, what happened is that corporations started reaching out to the company and saying, "Hey, we don't really know what to do right now, in this weird time to engage our employees or engage clients." Everything we had done previously is also come to a screeching halt. we really recognize you as a company where I've personally had fun. Maybe they went to one of our painting experiences in the past and just had a great time, or a plant night event. And so all of a sudden, this organic growth where we started seeing, 100 plus inquiries a week from businesses that had just never been there before. And so we just saw this really big green field, in the sense that companies are struggling right now with figuring out, how do I have fun? How do I build relationships in a virtual world? And even when we go back, people are going to go back in probably staggered times. And there's more distributed teams than there have ever been. So this is going to be something that's going to be a challenge for businesses for a long time.
That's interesting to me that you mentioned organically. So these are companies that you had already previously engaged, right? In other words, they probably experienced one of your events, knew of Yaymaker, and said, what do we need? What are we going to do to engage our employees and our customers? And they reached out to Yaymaker to say, do you guys have anything or any suggestions for us? That's how it happened? It wasn't the other way around, where you guys were like, oh, what are we going to do? We can't be in person anymore. We need to go virtual.
So it was a little bit of both. We obviously were pivoted to virtual for a B2C. Our customers were customers. It was a B2C business. We have about 3 million, active customers. And so we tried to take and did a really good job in a short period of time of flipping it around and figuring out how to host these and still have them be fun and engaging events for the people who are participating. The reality is, a lot of people who did our events went with friends. It was predominantly females, age 30 to 50. And they would go with a couple of their girlfriends and they would make a fun night of it. They'd have some drinks, they'd get to do a painting. They really enjoyed that experience, but it wasn't as easy to translate that to, how do I get a group of my friends to agree to do a virtual painting? It's just a little bit different. And so we didn't see a direct, like, wow, if we just make this virtual, all of a sudden everybody will just do it virtually. It didn't work like that. In fact, we saw, an 85, 90% drop off, even when virtual options were available. People just weren't as interested. And then, like you said, organically, we started getting all of these inquiries from businesses, very big businesses. I mean, a lot of Fortune 1000 companies that are looking for answers. And so we really haven't done any push marketing. It's been all organic. And so we're just, right now building the building blocks to figure out, what are all the types of virtual social events that companies want, that could be fun for different uses, and then really go back to these companies. And now we're going to position ourselves as their singular or one of their preferred vendors, to say, hey, this is, you have hundreds of sales teams in many cases, or hundreds of people leaders across your organization that don't know what to do. We really can help you here, provide a curated list of virtual experiences that you're excited about, and that can bring some excitement to your team, including, we've recently been doing something with celebrities, which is really cool, which is new and nobody's doing.
Yeah, that's really cool. You'd talk to me about that offline. Let me ask you this really quick, and then I want to go back to that celebrity thing. The technology, where was the technology stack, I guess, if you will, to be able to make that pivot, right? In other words, if everything was offline and these events were hosted at bars and what have you, and a Fortune 1000 company calls you and says, hey, we need to, we'd love to do a virtual event. How much of an investment needed to be made in your technology in order to enable the virtual events and to make it, the user experience enough where they'll continue to do it again, where you could expand it?
Initially, we pivoted just to Zoom, simple solution, video conference. We found that a lot of the corporate clients, they needed to required using their own platform. So we also, one of the challenges, we had to be dynamic way to work within our enterprise clients, technology stack, not within ours necessarily. And so there was some adjustment there. Now we're getting to the point where we are investing in new types of technology to make the events go from a production standpoint, go from good to amazing. So, that could be a sizzle reel at the beginning, that could be co-branding and along the bottom of the screen. There's all these little layers of production quality that we are starting to get into right now that are going to make the events great, go from great to even better. So it's an exciting time.
And you mentioned the celebrities. The first thing I think of is Cameo. Is it something where it's going to be something like that, where a celebrity will come on one-on-one and sort of leave Jay Webb a message about how great his podcast is? What is it exactly?
No, we're taking a little bit from Cameo. There's some things at Cameo, obviously they're very successful. What is at the heart of what they've done that's really helped that business explode is, one, they've made it really easy for the celebrities, right? It's not a lot of work when you think about what a celebrity and the talent would normally have to do. They'd have to travel somewhere. They'd have to do a lot of pre-planning, maybe even practicing. It's a custom event. There's, it takes a lot of work and effort. And we think about all that time and energy and effort, it's a lot. Cameo made it really, really simple. They provide a simple platform where the talent can just press a button, and they connected people and gave people opportunities to connect with celebrities in a way they never had before. This just wasn't possible for most people. They took the concept of, I'll buy you a frame with an autograph, and they digitized it. They disrupted and created something unique. What we're trying to do is create that same experience, or in a similar way, for businesses. And so how can we bring a celebrity? Imagine Kevin from The Office, Brian Baumgartner, he's a great guy. He's hilarious. Imagine him joining your team meeting and just video bombing or jumping in, him doing, an intro, a couple minutes of shout outs to your top performers or to the team in general or your clients. And then sharing a few stories, his favorite stories from working on The Office, or his life or experiences. And so, or doing a little bit of pre-curated Q&A. How cool is that? It's a 15-minute experience. Kevin from his side can replicate that and do it over and over again. But from the employee side, how fun is that, to do and have that experience, and then maybe even have something sent to the attendees afterwards from Kevin. So, that's kind of the concept. It's easy for the celeb, but it's super exciting. I had a conversation yesterday with one of the people on Shark Tank, Matt Higgins, and he is going to be working with us moving forward, and he's super excited about it. Right away, he saw wow, he's like, there's a lot of green space here. And working at Cvent, I saw that, this is a $400 billion industry, meetings and events, and companies have a lot of budget and they're not sure how to spend it right now. And so there's always, going to be a lot of opportunity when there's this level of disruption.
I want to get into the positions or just your growth plans in a minute, but what is the business model? I guess from, if you're hosting a virtual corporate event for folks, how does that work? Are they paying you just for the events, almost like a one-time thing? Is it some sort of an engagement, an ongoing engagement that they have for multiple events? And then also with the celebrities, how does that work?
Yeah, so starting with the clients, right now it's call it disjointed demand. I mean, individual people within the organization. These could be non-professional planners, someone who maybe they're a people leader and they have a budget to do one event a quarter that's social. They used to go to a bar and go out to dinner or something, and that's not really easily, you can't do that today. So we have disjointed bookers. We're also become preferred vendors, and for us, that's the outcome as we start to go more outbound. It's to talk to people in the right positions to say, hey, this is an organizational challenge. This isn't Kim who reached out to us. We've had 40 bookings at Google or 100 bookings from Google, but that's our goal is to always become a preferred vendor and then have the organization be evangelizing for us. And I feel like that's where we're going to win in the future. Because this has typically been an unmanaged spend category. There's not a high likelihood that someone's going to sign a contract to say, we'll do $20 million in small events with you. Right. But it's there. I mean, these companies are spending money. If you think about all the client events, think about traditional wining and dining. You know, wining and dining is, people aren't traveling. They're not paying for hotels. They're not paying for flights. They're not paying to take to big steak dinners. To pay, $100 or $200 a person to have a meal or a martini making kit or something like that shipped to all of your clients, and then have them jump on and maybe have a celebrity chef show them, how to cook the whole dinner and make it super fun and engaging and memorable. I think that's how companies are gonna create, build relationships and engagement. It's through experiences. If you think about your own life, what are the things when you get back to with your friends, what are you thinking about? You're thinking about, oh, remember the time when we did this, remember the time. And it's similar in life, it's similar in business. And so we're trying to create really unique interactive experiences. We've got one of our celebs who's doing a game show. We have our own game show that we've created, and so they're going to co-host the game show, and they're going to give the answers, and they're all related to the sitcom that they were on. And so it's really cool stuff like that.
I don't suppose you can share who the celebrity is.
No, not on this one.
Fair enough. I'll have you back on the other one. You can disclose for sure. Okay. Talk to me about Yaymaker's hiring plans for the end of this year and beginning of next year in particular, for business development and sales.
Yeah, absolutely. First, right now we have one or two positions that are currently available, so not a lot. Because of the retraction of our business, we've stabilized and we've steadily grown pretty substantially each month, but we're nowhere close back to where we were before. So we're just going to get a little bit further along. But I envision by the end of this year, we're going to be on a pretty good hiring path. I think we're going to prove out, the green space, how we can capture that revenue, how it can really help clients be more successful. And we're going to have an infusion of investments towards the back half of this year, in Q4. And so I would envision we'd probably end up hiring, 5 to 10 people initially in the business development group, and then kind of scale from there. Right now we are building all the foundational blocks that we need to put ourselves in a position where we could, go from producing 100 events to 1,000 events or 10,000 events. And so that's the goal right now. And I really see this, this business really leaping forward in Q4. But I don't want to wait we can't wait too long. Someone's going to jump into this space, and people already are. And so we want to do it as fast as we can.
Tell me a little bit more about those 1 or 2 positions. What are you looking for in terms of qualifications, and what would they be doing in the role specifically in terms of who their kinds of companies they're calling on, all that stuff?
Yeah, so one would be a meeting planner position that we have listed, and so that's, the role sounds pretty much what it's like. Is we have a sales team that's taking in inbound leads or pushing out and getting new business, and then we have a team once that event or that series of events is secured, you pass it over to the event planning team who takes care of all the details of the event, make sure that the client has an excellent experience. And so we need a professional meeting planner. And then we're probably going to we're hiring one business development rep who will be the person who will be, there's 2 people doing it now, but they will start to be doing all the outbounding, building out the sales processes. What are the sales enablement tools? What is the cadences? What are, all of those things we have structured out on paper, but we need to actually do it and adapt and be iterative. And that person will be helping kind of build that's plan for success, that game plan.
And do you have account executives that then take the ball and run from there, or who's doing the rest of it, or is that you at this point?
Well, it depends. It's been a fun, interesting, ride the last couple months with all this disruption. I mean, like I said, yesterday I was on a call with 3 really big clients with a shark from Shark Tank, and the day before I had a number of client calls. So if it's a bigger opportunity, whether it's on the talent acquisition side or the supply side, or whether it's a bigger opportunity on the client side, I usually, myself or my partner Matt Rolnick, we get involved personally. But right now we like I said, we're looking for someone who's a really good hunter who can be creative and really help us figure out the best go-to-market strategy. I think we've identified, in my previous experience, I've identified like the 5 personas that like we really want to go after. And so we've got a targeted list, and we're just at that point now where it's like, okay, we're finally ready to do the outbounding. We need a body or 2, and then we need to, put it out there and see if our messaging is on point, and just kind of iterate and be disciplined.
The fun stuff, right? Going hard and figuring it out. Absolutely.
Well, you know what? I will say what is fun about this is I can't tell you how much fun I've had having conversations. When someone has a real pain point and a challenge, and your product really delivers it. I mean, it's been a while since I've been. I mean, people don't know what to do. People who run $100 million budgets for meetings and events program aren't sure what the answer is. People who are like you and me, maybe in the middle leadership, they're not sure what to do. People at the ground level, they're not sure what to do. Like, nobody really knows what to do. And so it's been fun to just talk to people and hear from them and help them, have a great time and be successful. I mean, I can't tell you how many great reviews we've gotten in these first 2 months from enterprise clients. I mean, Google gave us a quote saying that, the event that they did with us was the best team event in person or virtual that they've ever done as a group. And she, the person who gave us that quote's been in the role for 3 years. So she's done a lot of different events. So that's fun stuff. It's fun to be a part of that and really be helping clients and winning along the way.
Not a bad company to get a testimonial from, to go after, help you find other people, for sure. I saw that actually on your LinkedIn page. For sure. That's really cool. Now, location. I know you're in Chicago. I believe Yaymaker wasn't founded in Boston, I believe, right? Wasn't that first events in Boston? Is that right?
Yeah, the very first event was in Boston, and that's where the office is, and most of the senior leadership is in Boston. There's a group of us that essentially came, or our previous group honors, that are based here in Chicago. There's like 6 or 7 of us, myself and Matt and a few other people on the team. So a lot of our sales team happens to be housed here in Chicago, but it really doesn't matter where someone's located now. I think that's become obvious, is that everything's, kind of virtual. So, but yeah, we're Chicago and Boston. We do have some facilities and some people out on the West Coast as well.
Awesome. Okay, fantastic. How should people go about applying if they're interested?
Yeah, I think that people can reach out directly to me. Again, this is a small number of positions. My email address at Yaymaker is cryan@Yaymaker, and so that would be the best place to send or inquire about either of the 2 roles.
Okay, and for those folks that are, perhaps interested in this role, just getting started, let's just say, give me some of based on your experience, whether it be a Groupon or a C-Event, and now, what have you seen that has separated some of the strongest business development people or salespeople from those that have typically struggled?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few things that I look for, and maybe I articulated in a way that's a little bit different, but I really look for people who I see have a great sales foundation. And by that, I mean their beliefs and certainties. My belief is that, your beliefs and certainties are your sales foundation. And if they aren't rock solid, at some point that, your foundation is weak, you're going to crumble a little bit, whether that's, and when I say beliefs and certainties, I mean beliefs and certainties in the product, the service that they offer. Are they certain that they can help the client? Or are they absolutely certain that once they found the right client and they have a deep enough understanding that once they have that, can they be absolutely certain? And so that's something that I look for. Are they absolutely certain they want to be in sales, with who they are as a person, with where they are in their career? Like, is their foundation strong? And so that's something that I try to ask some questions about typically and try to understand. Also I also look for people who have a deep understanding of their clients. I mentioned a buying persona. Sometimes those are created in a bubble, I think, by marketing, and they're not always on point, and they're always changing. And so, um, how well does a salesperson truly understand their audience? Can they have an out of body experience 100 times a day if they need to, and actually be the other person? I find like the most successful people are really able to understand who they're talking to, what they care about. And that kind of leads to the last piece, do they have the skill set to ask great questions? And people will say that, but do they really ask great questions, and do they listen, and can they adapt? Can they be a chameleon and really take in all the information um, from a prospect or a person that they're talking to, and adapt to it, or are they just, hey, well, this is how I do it, I always do it this way? Because things are changing so fast, businesses are going to change, like, if you can't adapt and you can't be a chameleon in a lot of ways, in a good way, um, and you're not going to know that from guessing. I don't care how well you think you've built a buying persona, or you can generalize. The person you're talking to is unique, and you've got to understand the uniqueness by asking great questions and listening. So if they can do those three things, those are three things that I really look for. And I know that if the person checks those three boxes, I'm going to feel pretty good about their success.
Good, strong, big foundation and beliefs and their certainties, not only about the product and services that they're selling, but also about themselves and what they believe. Understanding and frankly empathy for others, being able to put themselves in someone else's shoes, and then lastly, having the skill set to ask great questions, listen, and adapt. All good advice. And frankly, I get excited when I hear people say that, because I think that's just so foundational. Everything you just mentioned is so foundational there. Certainly, I've heard on more than one occasion empathy and listening skills, and lump that into curiosity, I think, as well, of what makes really good, strong salespeople, whether you're just starting out or frankly, you're a senior enterprise salesperson for Microsoft. So fantastic, awesome.
Yeah.
Ryan, thank you for going over quota on this special edition, or this newest version of Over Quota, where we bring people on, talk about their company, their open positions, and then hopefully get some traction on those positions. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks for having me. It was a blast. Thanks, Shane.
Appreciate it. Goodbye, everyone.